Alrighty, welcome everyone to the Virtual College Exploration STEM Days in partnership with Cachet. This is the Rice University information session. And before I pass it over to the presenters, I'm going to go over some housekeeping items if you have not heard these before. First and foremost, when you register for these sessions, you do get a barcode in that confirmation email. Know that that barcode is not necessary for any of the virtual events that you participate in. And we are recording all of these sessions, and they are going to be posted on our website shortly after the session concludes. So whether you want to rewatch a session you participated live in or watch one you may have missed, just check back on our website for those recordings. And then you'll notice that you will see and hear the Rice team. Unfortunately, they cannot see or hear you all. This is webinar style format. So any questions you have throughout the presentation, feel free to type those into the Q&A box. And the presenters will do their best to address those throughout the presentation. And we will also be providing them with the Q&A report after the fact as well, in case your question doesn't get directly answered. So without further ado, I'm going to pass it over to Jessica to get us started. Thank you so much.
Hi, everyone. Thanks for joining us today. My name is Jessica Griffiths. I'm one of the Associate Directors of Admission here at Rice, and I also serve as a Territory Manager for Canada, China, and the Middle East. I'm joined by two of my wonderful colleagues, and I'll let them introduce themselves. So we'll go Dylan first, because you're on my right.
Hi, everyone. My name is Dylan Gould-Bronson. I'm an Assistant Director of Admission at Rice, and my territories include Southern California, specifically Los Angeles and Orange County area.
And good afternoon, everyone. I'm Amethyst Black. I represent the traditional U.S. South, at least the majority of that, including Louisiana, Alabama, Mississippi, North Carolina, and Arkansas, and a portion of Florida.
Great. So today we have about 45 minutes together, so there's a lot of information to cover. We're going to have about a 25-minute presentation, and the three of us are going to be presenting in 3 different chunks. So when we are not presenting, we are also going to be looking at your questions in the Q&A box. So feel free to send your questions in the Q&A box. They are anonymous and we will be responding privately. So just know that our responses won't be seen by other participants. And we look forward to sharing as much information as we can. And we'd like to try to get through the information as quickly as possible, so we have lots of time for live Q&A as well. So we'll be saving some of those great general questions till the 25-30 minute mark to answer them live together. So our cameras will be off during the presentation, and then we'll be turning our cameras back on for the live Q&A. I'm going to turn mine off now and share my screen. Okay, so we're going to jump right into things at the academic session and kind of talk about the different programs that we offer here at Rice. So at Rice, we have 7 schools of study, and you'll see them listed here. It includes architecture, engineering, humanities, music, natural sciences, social sciences, and we have a 7th school of study, which is the Jones School of Business, and it does offer graduate level programming. In total, between the 7 schools of study, we have 50 majors and 23 minors. So when you apply to Rice, you're going to name just one of these schools of study on your application, and you can include up to 3 majors that interest you. Once you're a student here, you can have more than 1 major, even across different schools of study. So maybe you're in engineering and you're doing a major in computer science. You can double major in mathematics, which is taught through our School of Natural Sciences. So having a double major across the schools is as simple as declaring it, and you will be declaring your major second semester of your sophomore year. And about 20% of Rice students will graduate with more than 1 major, and they're still able to do it in 4 years. So Rice has many globally ranked programs. We would say some of our most notable are within the Faculty of Engineering, but we do stress that, like a parent picking a favorite child, we have strength all across the 7 schools of study. As an undergraduate student here at Rice, you'll also have flexible distribution requirements. And this offers you the freedom to choose courses that are both challenging and fun. Within this system, you're going to take a few classes in humanities. social sciences, and applied sciences. So in total, that's about 9 classes that are going to be outside of your major. And it's entirely up to you when you take those. This is quite different from a core curriculum, which is often more prescriptive, but with the flexible distribution requirements, we're going to offer you great breadth and flexibility within your curriculum and time with us. Rice is considered a top-tier research institution, and I'm sure you've heard a lot about some great other institutions as well. So what does that really mean to be top tier? And for us, it means that we're constantly producing new knowledge that will benefit humanity. This is both from students and faculty working together and separately and engaging entirely in the learning and discovery process. We have more than 45 different research centers and institutes on campus where students can get involved with hands-on learning as early as their first semester or first year during your time at Rice. So for example, we have students working with the United States Army to develop next generation wireless networks. We also have Rice's Nest 360. And this is where students, one of the many great projects they've had, they developed a plan and created equipment to lower newborn deaths in sub-Saharan hospitals, and they were successful in reducing that by 50%. We also have world-renowned faculty. Our faculty have collected many great accomplishments, including Nobel Prizes, Grammy Awards, Guggenheim and MacArthur Fellowships. And this is for the work that they're doing both independently and alongside our students. Our small class sizes and focus on undergraduate teaching ensures that you as a student will have unparalleled access to your faculty members. And this is a promise that is fulfilled through our student to faculty ratio, which is just 6:1. Students at Rice have the ability to join a research project, and as I said, some are able to do it as early as first semester on campus, but you should know that more than 2/3 of Rice students will conduct research before they graduate. So even if you don't get a position in the first semester, which is very eager, there are still great opportunities available throughout your undergraduate studies with us. So the faculty, the thing to remember is our faculty is known not just for being accessible, they're incredibly encouraging, they're warm and receptive, and are really eager to help you meet those research expectations and opportunities. So at Rice, you will be challenged and supported as you tackle some of the world's greatest issues. Additionally, learning at Rice goes beyond the classroom and research. Our location in Houston is prime for industries related to finance, sports management, consulting, medicine, entrepreneurship, and energy. It was a long sentence, but really the list goes on and on and on. Our network of more than 17,000 Rice alum are here in the Houston area. So this means you have a large, passionate network who are ready to help jumpstart your career. And it's just as easy as reaching out to a fellow owl. Our Center for Career Development is rated top 25 in the US, and they're also here to help you create your resume, polish your interview skills, and they also host hundreds of employers on campus each year to not only help you find full-time employment when you graduate, but also to help you find internships while you're a student. And I really love to highlight that fact. 90% of students will complete an internship while studying at Rice. And finally, as a Rice student, you can also take full advantage of study abroad. We have more than 150 programs in more than 60 different countries that span every continent, including Antarctica, and about 30% of Rice students will engage in these international experiences. And these can really range from international experiences that are maybe a summer long, could be a semester or a full year. You can learn more through the URL at the bottom, which is rice.edu/research. And I'm now going to turn it over to my colleague, Amethyst.
Yeah, thanks so much, Jessica. So in terms of the academic support offerings at Rice, they really truly do take different forms. So at Rice, your advising network will include professionals, faculty, staff, alums, and also other students who are all eager to really help you navigate a very successful path to achieve your goals. You'll also have an official academic advisor as well as a peer academic advisor who is a current student living within your residential college, which Dylan will talk more about, or I later. Your peer academic advisors are fellow students who are familiar with curricular requirements and who also are knowledgeable about ways to help you master the flexible distribution requirement system that Jessica just mentioned. They are also there to serve as mentors through your first couple of years as you study at Rice. And another layer of support is through our Student Success Initiatives Office. So from the day you begin your life as a Rice student, the Student Success Initiatives, or SSI office, is going to be there to help you transition to college life. This office actually oversees O-Week, which is our week-long orientation program for incoming first-year students. They also manage the Rice Emerging Scholars Program, or RESP, which is a summer transitional or bridge program. And also they manage the support for our first gen and low-income families, which are just actually a couple of things that they do, but they're very integral to students' lives at Rice. Okay, next one. So Rice is actually known for the tight-knit community and culture of care that we've really spent time cultivating on our campus. The Princeton Review again this year has ranked Rice in the top 5 in the nation for best quality of life and also for having the happiest college students. Rice has also been consistently ranked in the #1 for having lots of race and class interaction, also by the Princeton Review. And these rankings truly mean a lot to us because many research institutions aren't always known for their quality of life, but as you can see, Rice isn't like many other research institutions. And in terms of the residential college system that I mentioned earlier, so residential colleges are truly at the core of the student life experience at Rice. And you may be asking yourself, what is a residential college and how does it differ, right, from a dorm? So at Rice, I'll start first by saying that we do not have a Greek life system, but our students are definitely not at a disadvantage. Instead, Rice has 11 residential colleges, and every college will be equal in terms of the standard of living, but will differ in terms of the colors, symbols, traditions, cheers affiliated with each and every college. And each and every incoming student is going to be randomly assigned to a residential college. It is not required to live on campus at all, but the majority of our incoming freshmen or students in general do, and we really do feel as though it is because of the draw to the residential college system. Oftentimes when you meet Rice alums, they will ask, what residential college are you a part of? And they truly want to know what residential college you're a part of, because lots of playful banter and jokes happen really after that. And so it really is very deeply entrenched in the Rice community. And even when students move off campus, they are still going to be associated with their residential colleges. In terms of traditions at Rice, our traditions are actually just as unique as the residential college system itself. And that's where many actually, many of the traditions that we have at Rice are also going to be rooted. So at Rice, we celebrate something called Willie Week, which is in honor of Mr. William Marsh Rice, who was Rice's founder. And it celebrates his birthday. And during the week of his birthday, you'll definitely find trampolines and lawn furniture in the quad for our students to take advantage of between their classes. And also the residential colleges will play elaborate pranks called jacks on each other. And at the end of Willie Week, the colleges compete against each other in an annual bike race, which actually draws a larger crowd each year than our annual homecoming. Moving on to student organizations. Rice is home to more than 280 student clubs and organizations covering all sorts of interests, from academics to volunteer clubs. But some of our more popular student organizations include Rice Pride, The Thresher, which is the #2 student newspaper in the country, according to Princeton Review, and of course, our Marching Owl Band. That leads me to mention student-run businesses as well. So at Rice, we really do foster an environment that encourages innovation and also entrepreneurship. Our Student Center supports and advises 3 student-run businesses on campus. One is called The Hoot, which is Rice's premier late-night food service. And then also we have Rice Bikes, which rents, sells, repairs, and even buys bicycles on campus. And of course, the Rice Coffee House, which was established in 1990. And Coffee House is a bustling shop that brings together students, faculty, and staff around a common goal, or common love really, which is local coffee. Now, in terms of our sports programs, our teams can compete in Division I sports at Rice, and we're proud members of Conference USA. Rice students attend all events for free with their Rice IDs. And because our residential college system is designed in such a way that we are really microcosms of the overall larger diverse community as a whole. So you'll really get to know athletes who live on your floor or who live within your residential colleges as well. And Rice also boasts one of the highest graduation rates in the entire NCAA. And also Rice was the smallest school in NCAA history to win the World Series. Next slide. And now we're actually going to talk a little bit about Houston. So of course, we can't talk about things to do at Rice without giving a big nod to the city that we all call home at Rice. So Houston is the 4th largest city and the most diverse city in the country, where we have more than 6 million residents speaking nearly 150 different languages. And by land area, the city of Houston is larger than the entire state of New Jersey and is just barely smaller than the state of Massachusetts. We're home to the nation's 2nd largest theater district, the 2nd largest concentration of Fortune 1000 companies, the 2017 World Series champion Houston Astros team, and NASA's Johnson Space Center. Through the Passport to Houston program, Rice students have unlimited free access to the Museum of Fine Arts, the Museum of Natural Sciences, and also the Houston Zoo, which are all located within walking distance of campus. And for anything a little farther away, students also have free access to the Metro, which is Houston's award-winning system of lights, so essentially a light rail and bus system, which also have stops right at the edge of campus as well. Okay. And then for the next slide here, in terms of affordability, I will actually turn it over to, no, I'll finish this slide, actually, yeah. So in terms of affordability, Rice is consistently ranked and recognized year after year and has been named as a best value and best investment in higher education by the Princeton Review, Kiplinger, PayScale, and Niche, who have all ranked Rice as #1 best value as a college in Texas. So in terms of being need blind, Rice was founded in the spirit of giving back to the community. And since we opened in 1912, we have practiced a need blind admission policy and plan, meaning that admission officers cannot see a family's income when reading or evaluating an application. And so in Rice's process, students are admitted based solely on their academic and personal merits. Your ability to pay will in no way factor into the admission process. 100% of demonstrated need essentially states that Rice offers generous need-based aid and merit awards. We also meet 100% of a student's demonstrated need. And so at Rice, if you are admitted to Rice and there is a gap between what your family is able to pay and your total cost of attendance for attending Rice, then we will cover the gap. For domestic students whose families earn up to $200,000, we offer grants and scholarships to cover portions of the cost of attendance, and they will not have any loans factored into their need-based packages. This is something that we have called the Rice Investment that we unveiled last year, essentially for students coming from families where they are earning $65,000 or less, a student will receive a full scholarship. And anytime a student comes from a family earning over $65,000 up to $130,000 each year, that is going to be a grant for at least half or full tuition. And then for students coming from families where they earn over $130,000 each year, up to $200,000 each year, that is going to be a grant for at least half tuition. And for students coming from families where they earn over $200,000 each year, we are still committed to meeting 100% of your demonstrated need. And for all students who complete the FAFSA, the CSS profile, they can then be eligible for Rice investment funding. If you do have more questions about financial aid or how to calculate your cost of attendance, then please do visit financialaid.rice.edu. And now with that, I will actually pass it over to my colleague, Dylan.
All right, thank you, Amethyst. So I'm actually going to switch gears and now talk to you a little bit more about how to actually apply. So our holistic admission process is centered on evaluating each student in the context of their opportunities and realities. While we expect that you will be pursuing opportunities that will best prepare you for future success in college, we certainly understand that this school year has evolved in ways that none of us have anticipated. Despite these changes, we encourage you to pursue a strong curriculum such as an honors, IB, or AP course if your schools offer them. And we hope that you will continue to challenge yourself and pursue courses that excite you and inspire you to learn. In addition to choosing a rigorous curriculum, we seek students who have excelled in their courses. So simply put, grades do matter as they're a predictor of your success in college. If you find yourself struggling in a course, we hope that you will seek the help you need in order to master the material and earn the grade that you want. However, in light of the school year disruption caused by COVID-19 and remote learning modifications, we are prepared to accept the grading policies that your high school or school district had to implement for the 2019-2020 academic year. And should there be continued disruptions as we kind of head into the next school year in that 2020-2021 academic year, we will continue to make adjustments to accept those policy changes as well. So to learn more about the courses that we require for admission, make sure you visit admission.rice.edu. Now, in a typical year, we would encourage you to join organizations that mean something to you and seek to have an impact in them, because we do love to see leaders. There's no formula for this. There's no certain number of volunteer hours or certain number of organizations to join. No matter which school of study you list on your application, we expect to see that you've pursued your academic interest both in and outside the classroom. That being said, though, this year we completely understand that many of your activities outside of class have been greatly impacted or canceled altogether. If you've been able to find ways to stay engaged with some of your interests, that's wonderful, but we certainly understand if your focus has been on your academic studies or home responsibilities. But do know, especially going into this year, that no matter how you choose to spend your time or no matter how you've spent your time, especially in these kind of quarantine situations, it will be of value to us. So just keep that in mind as you move forward. Now, a good lead into that is you don't have to visit campus to demonstrate your interest in Rice. Sure, visiting campus is great if you're able to, and we really would love to see you when we're able to welcome visitors again. But there are other ways to show us your interest. Participating in events like this, attending our events in your area, staying in contact with us, and even the way you write your essays are all ways to demonstrate your interest. If Rice is your top school and it's a good all-around fit for you and your family, meaning you've also used our financial aid calculator to estimate your cost, the biggest way to demonstrate interest is to apply early decision. What matters most to us is whether you have taken the time to get to know Rice through exploring our website and attending various events and engagements. Now, territory managers. Each of us at the beginning of this presentation mentioned areas that we manage or what our territories are. And so we really are here to guide you as territory managers. And as you see here, there are a lot of us. So you'll see us on the road, maybe not this year, but you'll see our faces at least in a virtual way. You'll hear from us via email throughout your application process. They will be the people reading your applications. So if you do see your territory manager here today, which you're probably able to find some of us in there since our pictures are right here too, make sure that you reach out and connect and introduce yourself. We really are here to help, and there's no right or wrong way to reach out to a territory manager. It can be as simple as, hey, I was in this presentation and you're my territory manager and I just wanted to introduce myself. We get a lot of those emails. So don't be too concerned with the type of email you're sending. If you have questions, that's a great time to ask them as well. Next slide. All right, so a little bit more to the specifics of applying. So we accept the coalition application, the common application, or the QuestBridge application. We have no preference for any one application. Once you've submitted an application, you will receive a username and password to access your Rice admissions student portal. This will allow you to track the status of your application and ensure that the materials that you submit to Rice, which are listed here on this checklist, are received. The Rice supplement asks additional questions that are specific to Rice. We do require a $75 application fee, but we do offer waivers. So US citizens and permanent residents can request a fee waiver, and that will be through the application itself. There are some questions that will support that. Now, standardized testing, there's a lot on here. So you know, in light of the extraordinary disruption that many students around the country have been experiencing, Rice will allow first-year and transfer student applicants to undergraduate degree-seeking programs for the 2020-2021 application cycle to submit SAT or ACT scores if they choose. So students who are unable to submit tests or prefer not to submit test scores will still be given full consideration in the admission selection process. For students who submit SAT or ACT scores, we will superscore either one. We do not require the writing sections of either test, nor do we require subject tests. Domestic students, you are welcome to self-report your tests at the time of application. So meaning if you choose to self-report and submit an unofficial test score with your application, and if you are admitted, you will be required to submit that official test score to matriculate at Rice. So submitting an official test score or self-reporting a test score and choosing not to submit a test score are two different things. They're a little similar in your mind, but they're two different processes. So submitting unofficial means you'll still have to submit an official test score down the line if you are admitted. So just keep that in mind in the process. Students wishing to provide additional exams for admission consideration are absolutely welcome to. These exams are purely optional and at the discretion of students to submit. We want students, though, to have every opportunity to showcase their strength and academic achievement where possible. So to learn a little bit more about our testing policy and our updates, visit admission.rice.edu/policies. Now, official high school transcripts, make sure when you're sending these, you're sending them from any or all high schools you attended, unless your current high school includes previous high school work, but really the safest bet is to just submit them all. So that would be if you transferred to a high school and you know, you want to make sure all the transcripts get sent to us. For recommendation letters, we require 1 counselor letter and 2 teacher recommendation letters. Please make sure you choose teachers from your junior or senior years. The counselor letter helps us understand your impact on the community, and the teacher letters really help us understand your classroom performance. So please choose at least 1 teacher who represents your intended area of study. And we do recommend choosing teachers who know you well and can speak to your growth in their classroom. That's one of the most important aspects. And I will say we do allow a supplemental rec if you have a coach or you know, a ballet teacher or just a job, a boss at one of your jobs or something like that, that you want them to write you a letter. That's fine, we can accept that. It's just not required. Last thing to mention is the interview. It is optional, but we do offer senior students the opportunity to interview as part of their application process. This may be on campus or off campus, and it will begin in the fall. This year, I will say they're going to be a virtual interview, so we won't be having any on-campus or specific interviews, but virtual interviews just to be safe with everything that's going on, and more information will be sent out about those. And then 2 of our schools, architecture and music, are talent-based programs that require a portfolio and an audition respectively. So you'll find more information about those requirements on their individual school sites. So always, if you have questions or you want to see more of this information, you can learn more at admission.rice.edu/apply. Next slide. Perfect. So just briefly give you a look at the application timelines. No matter which track you choose, whether it's early or regular decision, just be sure you adhere to our deadlines. Early decision is a binding process. So when you apply early decision, if you're admitted early decision, you're 100% committed to coming to Rice, which is why doing that financial aid calculator is very important if you're considering that option. And regular decision is not binding. And if you're applying to the Shepherd School of Music, the Rice Baylor Medical Scholars Program, or the School of Architecture, you will be required to audition or submit supplemental materials, and those items have their own deadlines. So again, please make sure you're visiting those websites to learn more about the specific deadlines. Next. Perfect. So we understand schools everywhere are responding to the current crisis in necessarily different ways. So Rice itself moved to pass-fail markings for the spring semester this year. And so no matter how your school chooses to modify your courses or your grades, I promise you our officers will understand, and we will evaluate in the context of your environment. You won't be at a disadvantage. I mentioned earlier that you'll name, or one of us mentioned earlier that you will name one school of study and up to 3 majors on your application. At least one of the majors you name should come from the school of study you choose, but the other 2 don't have to. So together these provide the lens through which the Office of Admission will review your application. We will look for coursework and activities that align with your school of study and major choices, and for you to explain in your essays why you have made those choices. Changing your major even to another school of study at Rice is allowed, but we do aim to enroll students who are passionate about their intended area of study. Now, if you're an impact person in high school, you'll likely be an impact person at Rice and beyond, and that's really who we want here. You can show us you're an impact person by joining organizations that mean something to you and figuring out how you can help propel them forward. Rice is recognized for its diverse student body, and we're proud to play host to students who are eager to learn about one another and the collective backgrounds that make up the fabric of our campus. Each student here understands what they bring to the table and have a vision for how they want to contribute at Rice. When you apply to Rice, do show us everything you've got. Be sure to give full details in your list of activities and don't be modest. After all, the point of this application is to inform and impress. So really show us what makes you you and why you should be here. Lastly, we do review every applicant for a merit award, and these are awarded by the Office of Admission, not the Office of Financial Aid. So they range from a few $1,000s to full tuition and are renewable for up to 4 years, and about 20% of admitted students are offered those. All right, so we are almost at the end of this presentation before we open it up to questions, but I do want to tell you just a couple of things that you can do right now and in the meantime. So one of which is engage with us on social media. We are on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and YouTube. So follow us and subscribe to our channel to get new information as soon as we release it. Get to know your Rice Territory Manager. I talked a lot about that, but it can be a really great option, especially as we're in this virtual world, just to reach out to someone and hear more about the process, or again, introduce yourself. We do love to hear from students. Talk to your family, teachers, and counselors about applying to Rice. Seniors, now is really the time to begin identifying who will be writing your teacher recommendation letters. I know virtual semesters or potentially in person, depending where you are, might be starting up soon. And so we do recommend talking to teachers that you'll ask to write your letters as early as possible. Discuss with them your academic interests and how they might reflect those in their recommendation letters. And lastly, our application for students is open. So you can begin drafting some of your essays, especially those supplemental essays. So we recommend starting those early so that you have plenty of time to edit and revise based on feedback you get from proofreaders, such as parents or teachers. So with that, I think I know some of us have been answering questions. They're coming in quickly, but we've been answering a few questions already in the question and answer tab, but now we are happy to kind of answer some of those live as well.
Okay, thanks so much, guys. Thank you, Dylan and Amethyst, for a very informative presentation. We know we covered so much information, everybody, so we're sorry if we were talking fast, but we just want to get to your questions. And I'm going to stop wasting time even talking right now. So actually, Dylan, I'm gonna ask you a quick question. We have quite a few students that are interested in pre-med. So can you talk about Rice Baylor and what pre-med looks like at Rice?
Sure. So I'll start with Rice Baylor. So Rice Baylor is a program. It's not an accelerated program. It's designed for students to spend 4 years at Rice and an additional 4 years at Baylor College of Medicine. It is a selective program, so it is something you have to apply for. When you apply to Rice, you will submit an additional supplemental application to Rice Baylor Medical Scholars Program. Each year, up to 6 students are selected, so it is selective. However, it's not your only path to medical school, because we do have this great pre-med advising as well. So we have a pre-professional preparation advisor for pre-med. So essentially kind of a group of advisors that stick with you from the very beginning. It allows you to choose any major you would like while still pursuing pre-med. And so they'll make sure that you're taking the courses you need to take to be a competitive applicant, kind of check in with you along the steps of when you should start applying for medical school, helping you with that process. And with that, we do have almost a 90% acceptance rate into medical school, and one of which may actually be Baylor College of Medicine as well. So if you know for sure you want to do medical school, you want to go for it with Rice Baylor Medical Scholars Program, absolutely go for that. It's a guaranteed acceptance. They're holding a spot for you. So you still have to take the MCAT, you still have to meet a certain threshold for GPA, but yeah, it's really up to you in terms of your pre-med interests.
Okay, actually, Amethyst, I'm going to direct this one to you. If a student, I'm going to read it verbatim. Okay. What is the rate of student debt, and how can students receive financial assistance if needed?
Yeah, so that's a question that is really best suited, especially the first portion of that, the average student debt, probably for our financial aid officers. Those are the individuals who compile these statistics and are able to share more accurate figures. But the second portion of the question, Jessica, is about securing financial assistance, correct? Yeah, so once again, the Office of Financial Aid is going to be the best suited option. To give you an idea of how the process works overall, though, students who are U.S. citizens, permanent residents, and undocumented students graduating from U.S. high schools are going to be considered under our domestic student plans and policies, including the Rice investment that I discussed. So those students will have to submit the FAFSA and the CSS profile to be eligible for Rice funding or financial aid. Now, there's no scholarship application, and we also still offer scholarships for international students, even though we are need aware for international students. So we offer merit-based scholarships for both international and domestic students. And there's no scholarship application at Rice. So your application for admission works just as a scholarship application.
I will say we have so many questions coming in. If we don't get to your question today, you can email us admission@rice.edu. So you can copy and paste that question, send us an email, and our staff, maybe your territory manager, will get back to you as soon as possible. Okay. I feel bad that I keep asking you guys questions, but if you have any questions for me, let me know. So Dylan, I'm going to give you this one. So from an admission officer's perspective, do you think it's better to submit a score that a student isn't satisfied with, or should a student just not submit? So in a test optional environment, what do you think?
Yeah, so I mean, I think it's always up to the student to decide kind of how to go about that. For us, when we're evaluating applications, especially this year, I think more information is always helpful, but we're not gonna, if you submit a score that you're not satisfied with, it doesn't mean that we're gonna look super negatively on it. Right now we're dealing with so much kind of uncertainty in everything that we are viewing. We understand, like I mentioned with extracurriculars, that some of those might be, might have stopped. And so more information is always helpful for us, whether that's interviews, we're getting a lot from your essays as well, so spending a lot of time on those, or just sending any scores that you do feel comfortable sending. But if you don't feel like it's a representation of your best work, or you were hoping to retake it, you can always say that in your essays as well. There's an option in both, or in all application platforms, to explain additional circumstances. So you could say, I was planning on taking this again, but I couldn't because of the impact of the pandemic, and that's something we understand as well. So I really would leave it up to you as the student. I think we are here to just grasp as much information from your application that we can. So if you think that it's something that would be useful for us, then submit it. But if you'd rather not, if it makes you uncomfortable, then don't.
Yep. Now, Jessica, just looking, I see a couple of questions about one topic, so I'll just jump in here. The topic I'm seeing coming up at least 3 or 4 times is about college classes and our preferences. At Rice, we really encourage students to take the classes that are considered most rigorous at their high schools. So for you, if that is AP, pre-AP, honors, IB, maybe even dual credit, whatever you have access to is what we're going to ask you to really involve yourself in. Dylan talked really at length in an amazing way about kind of how we review those courses. And so that's Rice's preference. Now, also there was a question about credit. For students who score a 4 or a 5 on the AP exam, you are then going to be eligible for credit, or 6 or a 7 on the IB exam. So the final determination on which credit you actually receive, though, is going to happen by a registrar's office, not by the Office of Admission.
Okay. And I know we only have a few minutes left. I thought this was a great question to kind of end off on, and I think maybe we can each answer it. So the student asked, how would you describe a typical Rice student? And they just want to get a sense for the campus feel, which we totally understand in this environment. We wish you could come and really feel it for yourself. So I guess I'll kind of just open it up to the 3 of us, panel style. Typical Rice student feel for campus.
I think the easiest question, at least for me, the easiest answer is a student who is truly passionate about learning, oftentimes a student who's kind of quirky and special in their own way, and a student who really just enjoys a traditional kind of college experience.
Yeah, and I'd follow up with that too, with, those are always the types of students that we love to see. That's a lot of times the feel. And in addition, there is no typical student. It's really all of our students. There's no cookie cutter Rice student. They're all really unique and have their own individual passions. And so totally agree. The quirkiness for sure is there. There's so many traditions that are held in the residential colleges, and just overall at Rice, so many traditions. So that in itself is kind of a fun and unique history. And so I think it draws a lot of those types of students as well. But certainly students that work hard, but also can enjoy the benefits that Rice has to offer, which we talked at length about. So yeah, certainly agree with everyone.
Yep, and I would say the third element to that, and I think we each said something different, but it's like the perfect puzzle, it all comes together. I find Rice students are incredibly collaborative. And so it is not a competitive campus. This is not a campus where students are trying to kind of build themselves up at the expense of one another. They're really uniting and banding together to kind of make sure everyone has their version of success. So I would say a Rice student is very invested in the pay it forward mentality. And so that really kind of supports the culture of care that we talk about, because upper year students are looking out for lower year students. Within your residential college, it's a true family of really intelligent, also Rice students are very intelligent, really intelligent, inspiring, passionate, quirky students working together to achieve each other's dreams. So I think that's a perfect way to end off. And again, email us admission@rice.edu. We have a variety of virtual events happening. You can go to Visit Rice. I don't know the exact URL, but if you Google literally Visit Rice, you'll be able to find out more about the virtual opportunities we have. And I know Jen is ready to pop in.
No worries. that was fantastic. Thank you to the Rice team for sharing your evening with us and sharing all that great information. For those who are just getting off the webinar, you'll get a quick survey. It's only 4 questions, so we'd love to hear your feedback regarding this particular session. And all of our recordings will be available on our website this evening. So if you want to rewatch this session or watch ones you may have missed, please check back on our website. So I hope everyone has a great morning, afternoon, evening, wherever you are. Thank you so much to the Rice team once again, and I hope everyone is staying happy and healthy out there. Thank you.